Welcome to Men in Blazers 2000 and Copa. We're all here. Rog, producer Lexi, the puppet master, and most importantly of all, our third friend, Bob Lee. He's in Paris, you can tell because the green screen is showing Parisian scenes. Let's be honest with each other. We've all got Copa fever. I've got Copa fever, a nasty case of it. And now, oh, doctor, I'm burning up with a case of the Euros. It's like a bit like having scurvy and the clap at the same time. But these are illnesses I never want to recover from. I'm actually off to the barber after this to ask for a Pogba. It's Friday afternoon. Euro 2016 is upon us. A votre sante. Welcome, really, to a special show, Lex. This is the Men in Blazers Copa Euro Happy Hour. We're going to do what I hope you're doing at home, which is drinking and talking about football with two of our friends. We've got Chris Tomson, one of the greatest defenders ever to emerge from the great swamp state of New Jersey. He just chose to become the drummer for Vampire Weekend. Oh, and Becky Sauerbrunn. Becky Sauerbrunn, who stayed with the football. She could have been in the band, but she stayed with the football. She's done pretty well by it. A third friend is also going to be guesting. We've got, in honour of France Euro 2016, a French aperitif. You may recognise it. It's one of my favourites. From Podensac, I'm sure you're saying to yourself, that small town near Sauternes in the Grave region. First brewed in 1860, a blend of Bordeaux wines. Oh, and handcrafted fruit liqueurs. Oh, Zips, when you're ready, can you pour us some of that, mate? You're a beautiful man. Game one of the Euros is now in the books. We've only got another 49 to go. We better enjoy them while we can. Already, we've had the English fans do their best that they could do to get Europe to have a referendum to dispatch England from the Economic Union. Spain have already won the voting for which team is going to get embroiled in an awful sex scandal sweepstakes first. But thank God for the football. Before we get to the Euros, I want to say to you a little Copa update. To those of you who are saying that the Copa is crap, eat your words. Eat your words. Clean out your mouths. Last night, one of the greatest soccer moments of the summer. We probably will not see better. Massive player turning it on in a big tournament at the right time. I am, of course, referring to Luis Suarez, impotent yet full of rage on the sideline yesterday. All those teeth in that one mouth, all of that anger. He's never looked more like Anne Hathaway. I'd love that drink. Oh, in my book, Anne Hathaway, circa Rachel getting married, and one for Lex too would be amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, mazel tov, vino tinto, as they say in Venezuela. You have mine. Cheers, Lex. A votre sante, America. Talking about mazel tovs, Mexico, that 2-0 win against Jamaica. M. Horsey tweeted in, why is Jamaica treating the goal like it's the elusive bobsled goal? They did have their chances. Mexico progress. And the big takeaway for me, my God, 83,263 Mexican fans at the game last night. And there were 39,600 to watch the United States in Chicago against Costa Rica, a must-win game. What does those crowd differentials say about Mexico in America, about Soldier Field, about the American fan base? I'll say Mexican fans, they are not complaining too much about the high ticket prices for the Copa. At Galangini came closest to the truth, I believe, when he tweeted, I love watching USA's favourite soccer team, the Mexican national team, play football. We have just watched football. We've just watched beautiful, beautiful football. We've just watched real emotions, Lex.
Yep.
France, Romania. First big shock of the tournament, which was for me to see international football played in a full stadium. Once again, with fans who are actually enjoying the football and 22 players who clearly gave a crap. France had won 9 of their last 10 at home. It's now 10 of their last 11. My great mate and a fantastic writer, Simon Kuiper, wrote today, statistically, home field advantage at a tournament is worth 0.6 goals a game. Oh, that Dimitri Payet, the other 0.4 that he conjured today, it made my nipples tingle. We'd barely settled down in this game. We were marvelling at Matuidi, Pogba, Kante. What a starting midfield with Payet and Griezmann ahead of them. Best looking thing to come out of France since Olivier Giroud's face. But it was Romania who almost took the lead within 3 minutes. Stancu, now a household name across America because we think it's Romanian for Giroud, missing from close range, hitting the ball right at Hugo Lloris. France steadied themselves. They went through their tropes immediately. Payet passing, as only he can. Kante running as only he can. Giroud missing as only he can. What a fantastic looking side they are, though. Giroud, Lloris, Pogba, the me I wish I was. Stancu and Giroud got locked up in their own kind of personal death, missing shot after shot, header after header, personal battle of athletic incompetence that was brought to an end in the 57th minute when the ball bounced off, not the meaty French forehead, but the meaty French side head, and Giroud was a hero, as he has always believed he was once again. We've said all along, though, this French defence is a liability. 35-year-old Evra, he's my age, he's that old, could only bring down the pace of the woeful, incompetent Stancu. Who rose up to take the penalty? Stancu. I was watching the game with Lexi, with J-Dubs, with Chris Tomson. We were like, Stancu, no, don't try and take that penalty. But up he did. And my God, he finished it. We all started to think, this is going to be the World Cup of surprises. France, they just lack the mental strength to seal the deal. The nation is going to fall apart. But then we didn't account for the magic of Dimitri Payet. 10 years ago, that beautiful man was working at a clothing store while he was playing part-time at Nantes. Those of you at home who currently work in clothing stores, could be you in the future. How he thundered that beautiful ball into that net in a way that I believe Bull Ginge, James Collins, taught him how to do it at West Ham. Aged 28, Dimitri Payet became a French national hero. And when he was substituted right towards the end, he couldn't help himself. Professionals, they have all the money in the world, they have all the cars, the fast life, the wonderful things that are closed off to bulls in regular life. But he couldn't help himself. He just experienced something which overwhelmed him, all the more transcendent because France is in this place this time, and the tears started to flood down his face. And those poetic tears, Lex, to me, Dimitri Payet, as he walked off, it's why I watch football, for the human emotion. One quick note, Raz Van Rat, a remarkable defender, 35 years of age, best days behind him, right, West Ham fans. At Kenneth Knoopel tweeted, I really hope that England end up playing Romania in this tournament and that Jamie Vardy gets to trade jerseys with Rat. Don't worry, Romania. You may have lost today, but you still have the largest population of brown bears in Europe. No one, Lex, can take that away from you. I think it's time for our first guest. We're going to go deep, Dave. We're going to go deep. We're going to bring in an old friend. Lex is going to take her normal position at my side where she puppet masters. These microphones are wired to Lexi, and she just whispers into my ear what to say at all times. She is the puppet master. But who is this? It's an old friend. Vampire Weekend drummer. A great American who is very Spursy, and I mean that in a good way. Arise, and can we get another drink, please, for the great American, New Jersey's finest.
Cheers.
Chris Tomson. Oh, CT, the greatest thing to come out of Colombia since James Rodriguez. Can we get this man? It's not a little A, I'm not allowed to say that on television, but it tastes like it. You're the sometimes Vampire Weekend drummer. You're best known for your footballing career as an all-star sweeper, varsity captain out of the Peddy School. Go Falcons. Can we see that photo, please? Oh, look at you.
Good form. It's very good form.
You know, we were just looking, Lex and I. You look a little like Eric Dyer.
A little bit. I could see that in his Portugal days.
A little bit like John Brooks without the Teutonic accent. You're still a big-time player. You join us fresh off winning your indoor co-ed spring soccer league, Chris.
I think the championship, really, more of our team showed up, so we had more subs.
Yeah.
We really ran them into the ground.
Yeah. Bednose, if you're on that team and you play at the pitch in Williamsburg, you are an American success story. Hopefully not the only one of this summer, Chris. You're also fresh off rehearsals with your new band, Dams of the West.
Yes. The first two rehearsals, last two nights. I think it's going all right. Still figuring stuff out, but it's fun.
What can you tell us? What can you, come on, cryptically tease us, lure us into this? I mean, I could not be more excited. I love drummers who start bands and their names are Phil Collins.
I made a record with Patrick Carney in Nashville last year. And
Thanks.
Thank you. And so now kind of figuring out exactly its home and how to present it live. And I think the future is female, I think is one thing I can say about Dams of the West.
Tell us something we don't know. The future is female in pretty well every walk of our life, please God, if things are going to work out. But you're a drummer. But with this band, you're the guitar playing, singing frontman. A move a little bit like Harry Kane's, from being a striker to a corner-taking winger on the English team. How are you experiencing that shift in identity?
You know what? It's still a formative experience, still figuring it out, I would say. But I look forward to figuring it out, I think is probably the best way I can put it.
And America looks forward to. I just hope you are tempted to go two drummers, like every great band. And by every great band, I mean Adam and the Ants and the Allman Brothers. It'd be fantastic.
We'll see if I can afford it.
You've got an amazing life to me because you don't have to worry about 9 to 5 hours.
It's true.
How do you watch football? Do you just get sucked into these tournaments and just the day suddenly has gotten away from you as you go deep watching Albania play Switzerland and
Very often, yes.
And suddenly you're watching like NASL football on deep beIN channels that we didn't even know we had on the dial.
Yes, that's actually exactly how it happens, and my wife hates that, but so it goes. Another Saturday in the books. I actually, right after college, I was unemployed for the 2006 World Cup, and that was the best 2 months of unemployment I could have ever asked for. I actually got a job like the week after the tournament ended, so that timed out very well, and that's kind of like the way I can approach it now if we're off and not touring.
It's very similar kind of sentiments to those that went through the Great Depression. Sadly, the World Cup was only invented in 1930, so they didn't have any chance of watching that stuff. But you are a man that loves suffering, talking about unemployment. You're a Spurs fan. Just remind us why, Chris.
When I studied abroad in Ireland in 2005, and I believe at that point their shirt sponsor was Tomson.
Yeah, great vacation firm.
And my last name is no H, no P. I've been saying that my whole life. Tomson, no H, no P. And that Tomson only had an H, so I felt a certain camaraderie with them. And they had Berbatov. It was an exciting team, so
yep.
Why not?
God, I've got to tell you, when I hear that...
At least I didn't pick Everton, right?
When I hear that, my mind does go to the fact that Chang is our sponsor. And there's like 8 billion Changs. I think it's the most common name in China. And I do sense a missed opportunity for our club. If we could only pull in 20% of the Changs in the world, we would quickly become a mega brand. But you are quite a masochist. Spurs fan, I've got to ask you, St. Totteringham's Day, 21st straight, possibly the most painful. Have you recovered yet from the trauma?
You know what? Truly, I don't care. Second, third.
That's called fronting.
No. Actually, I mean, 5 minutes I was bummed, but we're still in the group stage.
Yeah.
It changes nothing. We're still the better team. So
yeah.
It's all good.
Oh, keep telling yourself that. Well, I was really trying to get to this, which is Euros. Spurs. They're suddenly incredibly well represented on the international stage.
We're everywhere.
Kevin Wimmer, Austria. Toby Alderweireld, Belgium, along with Moussa Dembele, Jan Vertonghen. You got Kyle Walker, Danny Rose, Harry Kane, playing for England on the wing, taking corners. Eric Dyer with him, Hugo Lloris. Oh, just won with France. Ben Davies playing with Wales. You got Vlad Karikis playing for Romania, the old boy whom you once loved. How do you work out in this maze of Spursiness who to cheer for?
Well, I think I would say my overarching thing with a unaffiliated, no USA in the tournament is as a general dislike of overdogs.
Oh, overdogs!
I think that comes from my New Jersey, heritage and feeling permanently under. So yeah, I think that the smaller nations, the Icelands, a heritage of Ireland. It's a very small percentage, but there's some in here somewhere. And then I think just generally not Germany, not the sort of the boring.
That's what it all boils down to for you, as it does for many of us. Who do you support? Not Germany. I love it. Your history with the Euros, it's pretty rich. 2012 gave Vampire Weekend some lines.
Yep, for the song Hudson. I was actually just reading Genius, and there was some very smart and intelligent theories about the geopolitical history of German and Greeks, but it was actually the Euro 2012 game.
The line being,
watch the Germans play the Greeks.
Yeah, ultimately Genius, it all boils down to football. But the first Euros you watched, 2004, if I was in the joy, take us back to that time and place, CT. Where were you?
I was interning at the Universal Records International Department, so I wouldn't say watched so much as refreshed the ESPN Gamecast browser.
Every day, all day,
yeah.
during this internship.
Yeah, and still got some college credit possibly, but I got all my work done. Make sure that obviously I'm a hard worker, but had the window open, and remember watching Greece. I think that was the year Greek took it.
It is. And record industry execs, if you're watching this, just know you're trying to work out how to save the record industry. It's football that destroyed you. It is football ultimately that brought you down. We've got to talk about this country, the one that we both love so much.
It's my
flags
favorite.
Within flags. It's my favourite too. We've experienced this Copa, like Arsenal fans, I imagine. I'm projecting. We've got the harrowing loss against Colombia in the first game where we're like, we are the worst, finger out, we're terrible. And then the goals fly in against Costa Rica. We're going to win it all. Just give us the Copa now. Don't play the rest of the tournament. We've won it. Where are you on this emotional roller coaster as an American fan?
Probably generally where I often land on emotional roller coasters, which is somewhere in the middle. I think we're a perfectly fine national soccer team. I like to use soccer still. Soccer, I think, as Men in Blazers would say.
Yep, we're all down on that.
I feel like, I wish that Jurgen would bring some more youth in. I feel like that, I think there's like a little bit of recycled nature of the team for the last few years, and I feel like
Chris is saying, stop playing that man, Jurgen, for God's sake. Put him in. We need creativity. Yeah.
I feel like we're going to advance, but not go too far. Although I certainly hope that's not true. I hope we go far.
I dream of not going too far. That would be unbelievable. But you're 32 years of age.
True story.
You came of age in the late 90s, early 2000s. I'm convinced US soccer fans have a very simple desire as they watch their team. They don't want trophies yet. They don't want like complicated performances. They want something very simple. They just want to know the program, the squad, the team are moving forward, and that tomorrow is going to be better than today. Do you feel like it, in your kind of span of watching America, do you feel like, big picture, the team is going forward, or do you feel like we've plateaued?
I feel like the story since I grew up and became a fan has been essentially we're a huge country. We've got great athletes. We're going to be sick. But I think very little of the work and infrastructure has been put in to make that true. It kind of seems like, we continue to be an above-average footballing nation, but I don't really think that any huge strides have been made. I think what we were just watching the Euro game, I feel like if we could see a young American crying after he scored a big goal, that would be. I feel like we haven't had that passion or identity or something that I think would really put us over the top. And
back to you, young Americans working in clothing stores. It's on your shoulders. I'm asking you this question, not kind of randomly, but because I know that you, CT, drummer of Vampire Weekend and Dams of the West, you know Sunil Gulati. You are hooked up, man. Tell us about this deep relationship.
I took a economics class at Columbia that he taught, principles of economics, so very advanced stuff.
Yep.
But my more specific experience with him was...
I love this story.
There was some sort of student culture building thing where Columbia students and faculty played the Harlem Wizards, which are a Globetrotters-esque organization. And during the quarter that Sunil played...
Hang on. And Sunil Gulati played basketball with the students.
Against the Harlem Wizards. And I think the Harlem Wizards identified him as a potential weak link to exploit in the defense. And just my very distinct memory is someone crossing him over and him just sort of towering like a tree.
Hang on a minute. Sunil Gulati, Colombia's Muggsy Bogues. You just watched his ankles broken.
Truly broken. Actually, probably the most broken of ankles I've seen in person. Not on YouTube.
Whenever I'm with him, I always think of him as a professor, being like the professor in the mixtape and the M1 mixtape tour, but clearly not. Was worship you Was that written about Sunil? Because I've often wondered that. Those lyrics, "We worship you, your red right hand." When I hear that song, I do think of Mr. Galati.
I think that soccer was in the air, but that's an Ezra Rossum question.
I'm going to get onto Genius.
That's not a CT question.
I'm going to get onto Genius, and I'm going to.
But I can say for a fact that the "Hey Hey Hey Hey," which I wrote in A-Punk, that's about Sunil.
By the way, America, don't believe everything that you read on Genius is the big takeaway from this. We're going to transition because, today, the second of this summer's big 3 tournaments kicked off. The Euros, Les Euros. The Olympics on the horizon is the third. So to talk about that, I'm going to bring in my next guest by turning Chris into a world champion. Here I am with Becky Sauerbrunn, one of my favorite American defenders of all time, up there with you, Marcela Balboa, US women's national team, co-captain, FC Kansas City star. Thanks for coming in, Becky.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, it's a joy. So many questions from so many people. Let's get to the important ones first. At Ellie Bell, how many people have called you Becky with the good hair since Lemonade was released?
Probably about 50% of the people that I have talked to since the visual album has come out.
Thank you for that. It's like everyone talks to me about different Roger memes. We love it. We really do. Becky and I, we love this kind of thing. But we're in the middle of Copa. You've been here. I've seen the degree of your Copa fever. The Euros kicked off today. There's the Coda, the Olympics, and women's gold touching distance on the horizon. What is it like for you watching men's football? I mean, do you watch men's football in the same way as you watch women's football? Do you kind of scout it? Are you in it? Are you living it as an athlete? Or do you detach a little bit and watch more as a fan?
I can do both. I can definitely detach and just be entertained by it. But there are so many wonderful male athletes, especially defenders, that I can look at and I can study, and I feel like I can take some of what they do into my game. Like, I absolutely love Bonucci. I think he's one of the best defenders in the game right now. And the way that he can wiggle out of pressure and things like that, I mean, if I can do that in my game, holy hell.
So when you're watching, one of the joys of watching this US men's national team thus far is watching the defence.
Absolutely,
Particularly Jeff Cameron
and
John Brooks. What do you see when you look at that US back four, that back line?
I'm liking the backboard that they have right now. I really do. I think the chemistry between John Brooks and Joff Cameron, which I like to call Joff, the way that's spelled, it's beautiful. It's Joff to me. Always will be Joff. I like it. I like what they have there. I think they complement each other well. I think they're good on the ball. I think they see things well. They read things well. I think Fabian Johnson is a great left back. I think
good Fabian!
I think he can play anywhere. I think we should clone him and just have him in all these different spots.
Team of 11 Fabians.
Yeah, can you imagine?
I can.
And then Yedlin, I mean, he's just a little beast, a workhorse. And I think he's grown so much since playing over in England. And I think you can see that he's carrying that over.
Oh, a team of 10 Fabians and one day. That is the march to glory. But the US, they struggled in that first game. It was uglier, thinking about it, than a pair of Steph Curry sneakers. But then they dominated US, Costa Rica, all on the US side. Thinking back to last summer, you have been part of a team that were lambasted in the early games, but you found your form, came out like a butterfly out of a cocoon in the knockout stages. What do you make of where this US team, the true form of the US team, between the kind of mood swings of those two games?
I mean, it's tough because they did struggle against Colombia, but Colombia is one of the best teams in the world right now. So you're kind of expecting them to struggle. And what really matters is how they responded. And they responded so well against Costa Rica. And I think what's going to be even more important is how they respond to Paraguay. You can have a 4-0 blowout, but you need to be able to carry that on. And that's the great thing about a tournament is that it's do or die now in this third group stage match. Like you need a result, you need to do well. So coming from the World Cup where we did struggle, it is about surviving until you can thrive. And so what we did with the women's team is that we focused on defense. Like if teams can't score against us, we have a chance. And so I hope for the men's team, I think Costa Rica was a good turnaround point, and I think they've got the momentum to carry on through.
Oh, please God. By the way, watching this tournament, as you have been doing, I've got to ask you this. Seattle, Houston, Orlando, New England, MetLife Stadium, stadia which traditionally have fake turf, but miraculously for the blokes, temporary grass. The blokes get temporary grass. Do you watch this? And a little bit of you be like, what the hell?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, It's just kind of like, of course, there's a beautiful grass overlay right now on that normal turf pitch that we played on and sacrificed our bodies on. So it is frustrating. It's very frustrating to see that it's very easy to put a grass overlay down. You just got to make the decision and pay the bill for it.
Oh, grass was just invented. Done amazing work in the past 12 months. Football overlords. Talking about that Costa Rica game again, one of my favourite shots when the cameras zoomed into Kristen Press, Tobin Heath, and your cop buddy, Julie Johnston, cheering on the men. How often do the paths of the men and the women's teams actually collide in reality?
Not often. I mean, we'll be in LA sometimes for training camps at the same times, and sometimes we'll be at the same hotel, but we don't really interact that much with one another. And it's kind of disappointing because we feel like it would be mutually beneficial if we did do, appearances together, maybe a doubleheader or something like that, something to kind of get our names out there together.
So one nation, one team. The reality is, how many of the guys do you know well?
I don't know many of the guys well at all. They've all been super friendly whenever I've met them. Matt Beasler is probably the one that I know the best. I've talked with him a little bit when the equal wage thing came out, so I feel like we have a pretty good relationship.
I always imagine Sunil Gulatti's Christmas party. Just sherry's being handed out. You're all around the tree exchanging presents with this guy.
If only.
The Euros kicked off today, Becky.
Oh, finally.
No USA in that tournament. Talking about Sunil Gulatti, you got the USA into the Copa. Will you work on the Euros, for God's sake? So how do you find the rooting interest? As an Arsenal fan, are you like all in on Giroud, LA Française?
I definitely will be rooting for teams that have, Arsenal players on them. When it comes to the European national teams, I find myself as the tournament goes on kind of grabbing onto one that I feel like usually a Cinderella story, someone that's kind of unexpectedly doing well. I kind of grab onto them.
Oh, Iceland, if you're watching, Becky
Yes.
Sauerbrunn is about to throw a full might behind your island.
Slovakia, there's another one that,
The Albanian
hopes.
and Becky Sauerbrunn is about to come out. We've got to touch base on the legal front, if only to satisfy listeners to my other podcast today in civil torts and litigation. You're one of 5 players with Carly Lloyd, Alex Morgan, Hope Solo, the great Megan Rapinoe, to file an official complaint accusing US Soccer of wage discrimination. Last week, a federal judge in Chicago ruled the team doesn't have the right to go on strike. What is the next step in this fight from your perspective? What are the questions? What are you thinking right now as this process kind of lumbers on with the Olympics on the horizon?
We were sad that the lawsuit didn't go our way because we thought having the ability to strike if we chose to was something that we could use as leverage against U.S. Soccer, but that's off the table now. So now we have the EEOC complaint, and so that's kind of out of our hands, but it's being investigated, and we have really high hopes that they're going to find that there is true pay discrepancy going on between the women and the men. And right now, really, my question is for U.S. Soccer is what message are you putting out to the young women and men that are playing this game right now in the United States? Why are you fighting so hard against us when you could be at the forefront of a major business saying, hey, if you dedicate the same passion, commitment, sacrifice into your work, you do the same amount of work as the men, you should be paid the same. And that's not the message they're sending us right now.
I'm with her. What is it like battling US soccer now? I imagine, how I think about it, it must be like having a really, really long, protracted argument with my dad.
I imagine. I've never met your dad, but I have a sense. It's tough. It's intimidating. It's scary because for so long we've been told like you should be very happy with what you've been given. You're one of the best played women's soccer players in the world, and we're supposed to be appreciative of that. And it's tough to finally realize, no, it's not about being appreciative. It's being paid what you feel you are owed.
You can't have any dessert until you finish your peas. But there are a joy on the horizon. In this stealth summer of soccer, the Olympics is the coda, and they loom. I'm fascinated by how winning teams keep winning. How they don't start to go on autopilot, how the players don't start to tune out the coach and think, wrongly, we got this. We saw Spain win back-to-back Euros with a World Cup in between and then implode at the 2014 World Cup, probably the most embarrassing Spanish sporting spectacle since Nadal tried to pretend that he's not bald. How do you prevent yourself from slipping into just victory is our right mode and keep that intensity?
Luckily, we are women that are always looking towards the next step. So we've had a lot of success, but for some reason, after we celebrate it for, a week or two, it's kind of like, okay, what's the next thing? We're always looking towards the next thing. And we always kind of remember why we play. And I think if you don't lose that perspective, you don't lose why you play. Like when you were 5 years old and you decided to pick up soccer, why did you do that? And so we always kind of get back to that moment, like, this is why we play. It's not for
the origin story.
The origin story, exactly. Everything else is icing on the cake, but when you get down to it, it's don't forget why you're here.
That is a bit of a deep question. I think I'd find that question quite paralyzing philosophically. It's just turtles all the way down. There's just 18 places on this roster. Huge transitional time. Lauren Holiday, Abby Wambach retired. Sid LaRue, Amy Rodriguez taking the year off to have children. Rapinoe, Carly Lloyd, both coming back from injury. New faces, Crystal Dunn. You got Mallory Pugh, who was Christian Pulisic before there was even a Christian Pulisic. There's only 18 places on this roster. I mean, you've got legends who are on the bubble. There's few places guaranteed. What's it do to team unity? Does it kind of like 18 places is so few? It's not even a 23. Does it feel like every person for themselves right now? Is it like a culture of paranoia and fear?
No, it's not like Hunger Games or anything like that. You're not like making alliances with people, but it's
disappoint
tough.
me.
I know. It's tough. It is an anxious time for a lot of players because we are on the bubble. We don't know where we stand necessarily. It's a small roster. There are players coming in and out from injury, so it is tough. But we know that we're only as good as the whole, and so. Yeah, it's up to Jill. It's kind of out of our hands. So there's no point for us to break unity and not be, have good camaraderie. Really, we need to stick together and try to help each other through this.
Stick together, help each other through. You are very lovely saying a collective. You are now the co-captain of this team, a relatively new role for someone who in the past has let their play do the talking, let others be kind of the more vocal presences. I'm fascinated by pre-game huddles. I love them since I came to America. I mean, you're replacing Abby Wambach, who was like Churchill in terms of being the orator. If Churchill used a few more F-bombs in the huddles, what's your strategy? How do you follow that? And what do you say in the huddle to get American players ready to dominate?
It's tough following up Abby, and I can't pretend that I can be an Abby. And so luckily, the things that I lack, other teammates have stepped up and kind of taken on the more vocal role. So you've got like a Kelly O'Hara and an Alex Morgan, people that are naturally vocal. So Klingenberg, I mean, she needs to be less vocal. But it's good that there are players that, if I pretended to be super vocal like Abby, it would just come off very fake, and then no one really respects that.
So what do you say to Julie Johnston before the whistle? Because you always say something to each other.
Our defense always comes together, and it's always kind of like, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to stay disciplined. We're going to give each other
good
cover.
Don't look at me.
We're going to stay disciplined. We're going to stuck in for sure. We're going to make each other look good, and we're going to keep our team in this, because if teams don't score against us, we were always in it.
The origin story. Mm-hmm. Always the origin story. We love you. We love watching your entire team. We cannot wait for the Olympics in Rio. The shot putting I can wait for. The javelin stuff I can wait for. But to watch you guys take the field and battle for glory and defend that gold medal, I know I am not alone. One of many thousands across this country for whom it will be an emotional highlight of the summer. I want to give you a gift. I'm worried about you in Rio. Yes. I wanted to give you some hypothermals. These breathe. This has been perfectly textured. World Cup winners 2018 USA. Give you that in advance. I also want to give you this side, because the other one, Katie Nolan told me, is a double entendre.
Oh, it is.
But there you go. Kung Fu Fighting America. This has been purposely built for the beach in Rio. You will breathe beautifully.
It is winter.
You take that, and to victory, to courage, Becky Sauerbrunn. Oh, here he is. World Cup 94s. Chris, that is a beautiful thing. I may not be able to prevent myself from just rubbing you seductively during this part. What an amazing human being Becky Sauerbrunn is.
Truly.
I mean, a World Cup winner, an Olympic gold medalist. But has she ever won the Wednesday night co-ed league in Williamsburg, Chris?
Probably not.
Yeah.
I would assume not.
This guy. A lot of football to come this weekend. Much of it not in Williamsburg. The pick of the games tomorrow, 9 a.m. Albania versus Switzerland, brother against brother. Half the Switzerland team born in Albania, half the Albanian team born in Switzerland. England will lose to Russia tomorrow at 3 on ESPN. Tonight, Lionel Messi to start versus Panama.
Argentine Messi.
Yes, he's wanted all of his life to start against Panama in the Copa. It's been a long-held dream. Oh, that's the noise of the Copa organisers when they heard that news. A man, a plan, a canal, Lionel Messi. But we'd be remiss if we didn't harness the power of the chicken wings to predict tomorrow's big, huge, national happening. It's not a game of football. Lukewarm. Zip. Lukewarm. Oh, but the power still speaks to us. Let's take that. Let me give you that guess first. Oh. What does a chicken wing say to you about the USA-Paraguay game? A game which is a must-draw. Oh, thank God. You wish you were on there. Davo wouldn't have done that. Go on.
I think we're going to win.
Yep. Are you by we, do you mean Paraguay or the US?
I mean this weirdly Uncle Sammy football.
It's amazing. Where did he get that?
eBay. 94. I was
back in the day.
Yeah, back in the day.
You've lost weight.
Truly. I think it's going to be 2-1, just so it can't be a complete victory, because there has to be some questions going into the knockout rounds. 2-1 USA, I should
Can't wait for this
clarify.
game. My chicken wing says Lincoln Financial Field, USA, Paraguay. Paraguay, one of my top 2 favourite guys. They're going to sit back. They're not going to do the Costa Rica thing and just try and knock us out in the first round. We're going to have to break them down. He's going to play the same starting 11, and it's going to come down to this man. Can this man, in full kind of extra gear he sometimes does, good Jermaine, and can he enforce his will on the game? I believe he will. It'll be USA 1, Paraguay 0. USA, USA, USA. Oh, going to be the greatest thing that will happen to me in the next 12 months, other than the release of the Damned of the West album, which I can't wait to listen to. Chris Tomson, you are a beautiful man. We give you, I'm not going to give you a huge presentation because it looks like I'm trying to push product now after making Becky put it on. But yes, you finished off Sepp Blatter in a double entendre fashion, Chris Tomson. We say to you, we say to everyone out there, huge weekend for America. Fear it not, America. Courage.